Welcome to Frost Astrophotography. In this video, I'm going to show you how to blend in hydrogen alpha data into your LGRB image of the Iris Nebula. I've incorporated the hydrogen alpha into LGRB images before, and the first one, I guess, was the Andromeda Galaxy, where I integrated the hydrogen alpha into the red frame and then integrated the entire image into an LGRB image with LGRB stars. I've also done the Caldwell 14, the double cluster in Perseus. And for that image, I did an LGRB image with LGRB stars. And then I converted hydrogen alpha into an RGB image and modified the data with a red taint, and then incorporated that into the LGRB image. For the Iris Nebula, I tried both of those methods, but did not like the outcome. And I was thinking, how could I incorporate hydrogen alpha into this image without ruining it? The hydrogen alpha data was very strong, and I had gathered 10 or 11 hours worth of data, so that was a lot. I tried different techniques, but I ended up with a technique where I actually just skipped the red frame in an LGRB image, and I did an LHAGB image with RGB stars. Let's take a look in PixInsight on how I did that and the quick steps of my processing. Looking at PixInsight, you can see that I have my LGRB and HA master frames here. If you've been following my channel, you know that I have done the Iris Nebula before, and that time I did an LRGB classic image with LRGB stars. And I actually gathered that data, I guess, around 1 year ago now. So a little while ago, I had a clear night, or somewhat clear, I should say. The moon was up, fairly big moon. So I knew I couldn't shoot any broadband, and I settled for HA. And since I couldn't image due south, because of the moon, I had to image due north, and I thought, why not go for HA data on the Iris Nebula and see what I come up with. So you can see that I have my master frames here. This is the red, this is the luminance, this is the green, and this is the blue. And as you can see, the HA data here, when aligned to a reference frame from one of the luminance frames, you can see how much the Earth has rotated during this past year. And that is visible due to the stacking artifacts that you can see on the edges here. So I had to crop this out, but no big worries, since I have drizzled this now and the resolution is fairly high. So I've actually used my H-alpha frame here as the master and reference, and I have cropped out all of the stacking artifacts here. This could be a bigger problem if you have frames from several different years and you can't rotate your camera. I have a camera rotator on my rig, but it is manual and I don't want to run out to my observatory and manually rotate until Nina is happy. And I can't afford an automated rotator, and most importantly, I want to keep balance to 100% on my rig. So I don't want to rotate the camera, because that will also rotate the filter wheel. Looking at some frames here in the linear phase, I did my usual linear phase processing routine, with the exception of dynamic background extraction. I actually used automated or automatic background extraction for this image, just because there are dust, gas, nebulosity, or some kind of matter everywhere in this image. And there's always a risk of removing something that it's not background. We're going to compare these two frames here. You have the HA on the left and the red here on the right. And I'm actually going to, for the non-star version of the image and processing, I'm going to replace the red with HA. And you can see that there are a lot of HA data here, and it should be because it is 10-11 hours worth of data. And the red data is nowhere near that. It is 1/10 of that, I guess. And it will be interesting to see what this will do and affect the overall end result color of the image when I replace red with HA. As usual, after the manual stretching, I did the star exterminator to remove the stars. There are a couple of artifacts here and there. It won't matter. We are going to integrate the stars back later. You can see the red here. You can see the luminance here. There is a lot of data here. there is a lot going on in this image. Fairly good data. We have HA here. You can see that there are HA signal everywhere in this frame for these 10 or 11 hours. Green frame and the blue frame here. So how do you combine all of these frames into one single color image? We have a script that you can use that is called NBRGB combination. And in this script, you can combine an RGB image with narrowband channels for RG and B. Normally H alpha, oxygen 3, and sulfur 2. But I'm not going to use this because I tried this and it simply adds over, so to speak. If you do combine the LRGB frames into a color image and then add H alpha into that, it will simply add, you know, a red layer on top of everything if you assign the color red to H alpha, which it is most closest to in the natural representation. I did not like the core was completely overblown and everything was red. I guess you could play with this and play with other processes to maybe make that work, but I'm not that skilled in PixInsight, so I did not want to do that. I also tried the method that I used on my Andromeda galaxy, and that is to combine my H alpha and red data early on in the process. Before stretching in the linear phase, you would simply extract your red data from your H alpha data and then add that back into the red frame and then combine an LRGB image. That works good, I would say, for images of objects where you have isolated red patches, such as the nebulosity in the Andromeda galaxy, for example. There isn't hydrogen alpha everywhere. That doesn't make the entire image red. It just highlights the red nebulosity sections within the galaxy. If you want to check that out, you can look at my PixInsight tutorial for the Andromeda galaxy. And that just left me with one option. I am going to combine LRGB but replace R with hydrogen alpha. So I'm using the process called LRGB combination. I am selecting all of the frames for G, L, G, and B here. Let's see, that was supposed to be B, and for the red, I will disregard red and I will select H alpha instead. This means that I won't be using red at all for the actual non-star content of the image, but I will use the red frame to combine the RGB stars. So I'm going to execute this and see what it comes up with. Now that that is finished, I'm going to show you some quick steps that I took. I'm going to show you the results that I actually got, but I'm going to reproduce some of the processing steps. So the first thing that I did here now was to, well, get rid of this greenish tint that is everywhere. I don't really like that. So exactly the same way that I do in almost all of my narrowband images, I'm going to run SCNR here to remove some of the green in the image. And with some, I mean about 80%. That is my preferred setting here. I'm also going to invert this image here. You can see that we have some green here when inverted, and that turns out like magenta in the normal image. So I'm going to execute that with a setting of 1 or 100% removal of green in the inverted image. Going to invert the image back, and then you see that I have removed some of that magenta tones, leaving me with the bluish colors here in the background and all of this great stuff, gas and other things here that I really, really like in this image. You see that there is so much going on here, so that is something that I really want to have. If you want to highlight one color here, like blue for example, you can create a color mask with the script called color mask. You can select for four blur layers here. You can select blue and then you can execute, and it will create a color mask that only affects blue areas. You can then apply that mask to this image, and using curves transformation you can make that blue pop a bit. Not going to run that right now because this computer is very old and it takes forever. What I did, however, was to make several adjustments of this image, starting with some saturation. You can see that, well, you want to boost that saturation a bit in this image just to make the colors more, make more of the colors, so to speak. You can also use this CIEC component here to adjust and play with the vibrance settings. You can see that you are manipulating the vibrant setting of the colors here. You can increase that also a little bit to make it pop or stand out more. I really like it when you have this blue segments around all the way in the background, but still really can see these patches of dust and gas, the brownish things everywhere in this image. I really like that. Finally, you could play around with RGB here, you know, set the background, change the contrast of the entire image here that you might want to experience a little bit with. But be careful not to blow out the central piece or the Iris Nebula itself in the middle here. So this is the final image after I have applied all of the processes that I normally do in my non-linear phase, and that is multiscale linear transformation for sharpening, the unsharp mask, the TGV denoise, and dark structure enhance script, as well as some final color adjustments and removal of some of the red that was reintroduced by the H alpha signal being so strong. I ended up with the starless version looking like this. As stars, I used LRGB combination to integrate R, G, and B. I didn't actually use luminance for stars this time. And I actually reduced the stars a little bit here, just so they wouldn't be overwhelming in the final image, so to speak. And as a final step, I used pixel math here to, with the on-screen and screen setting here for joining, to combine the stars with the starless. And that gave me this final image here. And I must say, I am pretty happy with this image. You can see that there is a lot going on in this image. We have the fantastic Iris Nebula in the middle here, way in, and we have all of this gas and dust and other stuff and particles that is floating around in space. You can't even see into the dark space here because this signal is actually everywhere. So I'm fairly happy with this one. I'm just going to show you, for comparison reasons, my old Iris Nebula image and this new Iris Nebula image with HA data and a total of 7.8 hours worth of data. And yeah, enjoy this and keep a lookout for my next image. Hopefully I will get some more clear skies or nights here to be able to gather data and show you some new and interesting objects. Thank you so much for watching this video, and as always, if you like it and feel like you want to contribute to the production of these videos, there is an option listed in the video description that you can use. Until the next video, I wish you have clear skies.